and welcome back to Japan for our reaction review to BiSH's new song Letters. Now if you want to see the reaction, I've just done that and you can watch that by pausing the review video, clicking the link in the description below, which will open up a separate player where you can watch my reaction to the video. But if you've already seen the song, or if you just want to hear my opinion straight away, here they come. Here's the review. Are you ready? Pause this one if you want to see the reaction first. Alright, here comes the review. So this was an interesting one on a few levels. Now, I always say, as I said again in the reaction this time, that one of the things that I really like about BiSH is every time you press play, you kind of don't know what to expect, and that's the fun part of it. Now, there are certain signature sounds they have, like with this song, the, I wouldn't say reliance, but the fairly frequent use of orchestration, strings. That's a common theme in BiSH songs, and again, that came up here. However, this was going in, I feel like a more simple direction. This was a very sort of simple, streamlined song. It was very much about the melody. It was very much about a simple backing. I'm often now referring to this sort of thing as being a bit of a Yanakoto Soto mute sort of thing, because that seems to be their hallmark. And yet this does a similar thing in a very BiSH way. Now, that is, in one way, that's really nice because it adds a little bit of flavour to their discography, you know, having some simpler songs as well, as they do. However, I must admit, I'm always a biggest fan of their slightly over-the-top ones where, you know, there's a lot of creative madness going on where, you know, if you like, there's more surprises to be had in store. However, once again, you can't take away from a song that is giving to, an element of variation to their overall discography by being, you know, something a little bit more, should we say, laid back. Now, in the case of this song, one of the things that I actually must admit I really came out liking was just simply that melody. It was very simple. I don't know, I always say, and I think this is true, sometimes the simpler catchy melodies are the ones that get old faster and get tiresome faster, and that's one of the things that is very hard to judge in an initial reaction review video like this one. However, I'd say this one's kind of on that border where I don't think I would get immediately tired of this. However, I don't think that's a timeless chorus so much as it is just kind of a nice catchy one. Certainly is very gentle on the first listen, and it's one that immediately, you know, starts to get catchy. I mean, it's going around in my head right now. Always a good sign when that happens after the song's finished, and while I'm talking, I'm still thinking about the chorus. Always a good sign. It had a good feel to it though. The overall tone of this song was somewhere on that line of being I mean, I don't think that BiSH ever do any songs that are completely without an emotion, even if it's one of the ones where the emotion is just kind of insanity and rage. You know, all of their songs seem to have some emotional context to them. And this was one of those ones where there was a sort of that wistful, you know, sort of thoughtful, without being able to pick up my lyrics, it's hard to know, but a sort of, you know, gentle, emotional thoughtfulness to it. And yet at the same time, well, maybe because of what I just said, it was a very gentle, emotional line to it. It didn't have, like with the song we just reviewed not so long before this, Life is Beautiful, it wasn't that sort of melodramatic emotion. It was a much more subtle emotion in this one. And I think that's why the backing was apt in being a more sort of subtle approach. You know, it was a very gentle, sort of easy to follow one. And most of the arrangement, if you like, because the backing was basically, like I say, rock and roll, you know, guitar, bass, drums, all doing very simple things, and most of the orchestration really came from the string section, which was doing, if you like, the emotional heavy lifting in the musical arrangement terms at very least. So I think that this was all about just doing the simplest things that work, you know, doing the right sounds, not too much, but just enough, you know, and keeping things to a sort of emotional simplicity and arrangement simplicity. That was clearly the intention, and it came across really well. So with that being the idea, I think this was actually quite an effective song. I definitely, like I said, I'll be coming back to listen to this one again. Certainly worked for me. And yet, at the same time, to come back to my earlier point, maybe just to explain it a little bit better, like I say, because it's a fairly simple chorus, because it's a fairly simple arrangement, it's one of those ones where I don't know necessarily how well it'll stand the test of time compared to some of their more unique offerings. I would certainly, though, say that this is a step in a good direction. well, all of their songs seem to be a step in a different direction. They always seem to be diverting into different angles. Like the last one we heard, I'm really bad at remembering song names. I think it was called Tomorrow, the one which was basically like the rock video. That was obviously like the total opposite of this, and that was much more about sort of full on, you know, heavy energy and going crazy and loudness. However, I guess you could say again that was very much a guitar rock song, and this, although on the opposite end of the scale, is again a fairly guitar rock song. So yeah, I guess there were similarities, but then again, you know, there's a lot of variation in what they do. However, this is them once again delivering something that is very good at being what it is. And I think that's one of the main qualities of BiSH, as I keep on saying, and I will keep on saying as long as they do it, is the fact that whatever direction they do go in, they seem to be pretty good at nailing it. They seem to be pretty good at never really dropping the ball. I wouldn't say they've ever sort of done a genre or a style or a mood of song where I've listened to it and gone, that just doesn't suit you. Seems everything that they attack, which is a fair range of things, seems to always come up sounding like it suits them. And this might be one of the reasons why, like I say, the songs they tend to go for tend to be ones that, to whatever degree, have a sort of an emotional weight. That seems to be what they do best, is songs that have some kind of emotional undercurrent to them. I think that if they were to do a sort of throwaway chart pop song, it just wouldn't suit them. It just wouldn't suit their style. I think that would probably be the one thing that they would fail at doing. And we had this conversation recently where we were talking about some of the more common denominator groups, some more common denominator pop groups, who just kind of go for the chart hits and for their idly look. And we're talking about this both in Japan and Korea. And yeah, they get huge numbers, obviously, and they become household names all around the world, as Asian artists now can do. And I was drawing the comparison between artists like that and artists like BiSH, and saying that with a group like BiSH, yes, they're never going to achieve the sales figures of some of the big K-pop groups or something like that. But what is really interesting is that I think they would appeal to more of a niche, because what they do is a little bit more unique and because it has an emotional content. And I think they will better stand the test of time as a result for it. I think a higher percentage of their perhaps smaller fan base will still be around in 20 years than it will be for some of these other big groups who are currently nailing the top positions in the charts, but perhaps not identifying themselves so much with a particular sound. Anyway, there's my opinions on this. I think this is another song that adheres to the quality standards of BiSH whilst also being a little bit different. And yeah, I just enjoyed this and I can't wait to hear it again, which I intend to do very soon. So as always, whether you liked it or not, whether you know the group or the song or not, whether this is your first time hearing it, whatever, give me your opinions. Music is all subjective. I can speak as someone who's worked with music my entire adult life, but it doesn't mean my opinion is any more worthy than yours. So tell me what you think. Looking forward to having some interesting conversation in the comments below. And as always, if you want to get involved in more of a conversation, remember that there's also links to our social medias in the description below where that reaction link was. And furthermore, on top of that, big thank you to our Patreon supporters who clicked on that link, because you guys have really been helping massively over the last couple of months, as always. So, until I see you guys hopefully very soon here in Japan, thank you for making it through to the end of the video, and for now, ciao ciao.